I wanted to talk to you today about the Graviflyer. Guys, I know what it is that we're doing. I've known it for a while. It's time that I finally express exactly what it is that we did. You see, this thing isn't anti-gravity at all. It's using an environmental condition to your advantage in order to change the way it works. You see, I know a lot of you out there think we're just in an open environment. You can't describe exactly what we're in. But that's not exactly true. A simple Google search will tell you we're in gas. We are in gas right now. We're not in water. It's a different liquid state. We're in gas. The viscosity is different. But it shows up. Do electrolysis and you'll find out layering. Every single layer is different. Why? Because of the density in it itself. Water's more dense than the gas state. We're in the gas state. We're in a big giant snow globe, if that's what you want to call it, but it's a pressurized 360-degree environment that basically uses gas to pressurize the liquids and everything as it goes more and more. The more dense it is, the more it goes to the core of what we're doing here. So if you can understand that on a fundamental level, then you can understand the environment you're playing in. If you don't understand that on a fundamental level, you'll have all kinds of misconceptions about what anti-gravity is. You see, it's not an electrical force that pushes you up or down or something like that. No, it's structuring the environment around you into a gravitational field. You're literally making a gravity well. You see, you don't cancel gravity at all. That's a misunderstanding. You create gravity. Gravity in gas is much stronger than gravity in a solid environment. We should know this already. Jupiter has a much stronger magnetic field than Earth itself. Why? Earth itself has solid matter. What you're dealing with in Jupiter is plasma and gas. Stronger magnetic field. Stronger gravitational field. Now we can start to understand this properly. We need to structure the gas. But how do you structure gas? Well, in low voltage and water, you can structure water by just using any low voltage source, and you can structure the water. It's working by taking the radiation itself and creating the structure. But gas isn't much different. It's just a different level of electricity. So when we get to it, we can see it in the Tesla coil because it takes a very high amount of voltage, puts it in the environment, and takes the radiation and structures the gas. You see, that's a big understanding right there. But using the outside of a Tesla coil is a poor way to do anything. It's a brute force method that doesn't work. It's not the higher amount of energy that you need. You're not coupling with the environment, so you are actually at a loss. You think you have these joules of energy that you can use, but you're not even scratching the surface of what you need. You see, the inside of the Tesla coil gives you the pure dielectric. That's what you're looking for. It's not static electricity. Static electricity is a charged state. You're looking for the pure dielectric. It's what combines atoms together. Once you understand this, and you can see it in your environment, 100 volts per meter. Why? Because the gas is pulling apart and showing you the dielectric in between. We see it as high voltage potential, but it's really the dielectric that's showing itself in the environment. Now you understand the environmental condition. So what do you have to do in order to structure this? Well, it goes down to the structuring of an atom. If you understand fundamentally how that's built, then the Graviflyer is much easier to understand in total. Let's define it a little bit. Let's just draw this. This is actually what the inside of an atom looks like. And you may be saying, oh, but I have my protons and my neutrons and they look like this and they're structured like this. That's an incorrect way to look at it. It's just wrong. Why is this the correct way to look at it? Because in plasma physics, it shows you that this builds out before it builds the plasma structure around it. Here is how we know what we're doing. You say, well, if I put the little thing around here, I start to make the structure of an atom. That's exactly what they tell you in physics it looks like. What are they not telling you? That this builds a field. Just like that. Then, as the opposite goes, it builds a field outside of that. Then, it goes again. And again. You see, once it gets to this level, it now builds out a sheath layer. This is the understanding of how the atom works. Why? Because the magnetic field that goes this way, and this way, and this way are all different. So how are you going to see it when you build this thing out? It's in zoning. Center zone, the zone around it, the zone around it, and again. Now, what's the difference? This one moves in this direction, so you have a vector direction here, so you get it rotating in like this. Now you get this one that goes in this vector direction, and it now rotates like this. Now you can start to see the understanding that we're dealing with here. We have zoning that goes on in these. It's the fundamental building of an atom. That's exactly how gravity works. Why? This sheath layer, it is an electromagnet here to build out a layer that always wants to go this way. As the dielectric pulls out in this direction, the magnetic field pulls in this direction. It's a magnetodielectric effect, but it's controlled by the frequency of each zone. Now you can start to understand it. Each zone is built out in a harmonic level. Every time it rotates, one in one direction over top of it, it creates a harmonic. It builds out in each layer. The Graviflyer does this. You say, well, how? What are you putting into it to make it happen? You see, this isn't so difficult to understand. Now that you understand how an atom properly works, guys, an atom makes a gravitational field, and the inside core of our planet is plasma. For those of you who still think it's nickel iron, just understand this. Nickel iron is a shell, and it basically works to amplify the magnetic field, but the inside core is actually plasma. Graviflyer. Simple. It works on this simple effect. These two zones here are coupled together. They're in AC slosh with a DC pulse. That means that they're going back and forth, one on, one off. Excuse me. Boom, 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 just like this. They're sloshing. That's what AC does. AC is not this, it's this. It's the sloshing back and forth, the movement back and forth in the slosh. Why is it a DC pulse? It's the way that it's built. An AC flyback has a core, has a magnetic core, it has this part here. You roll in with a ZVS, and you are now creating the DC pulse. Over here, this is layered. One wire, second wire. This is the slosh. Where this level is the amount. This amount of frequency is higher, this amount of frequency is lower. then that in itself will change positions as it goes. That is your slosh. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Exactly how the Graviflyer works. Slosh, right between them. You're putting out frequency. Okay? Here, frequency here. That gives you zoning. We now have zones. But how do the zones stay where they are? The fundamental understanding of the Tesla coil. Did you understand it properly? We don't need the outside of it. That part is garbage to us. That's brute force. We don't need brute force. Brute force won't get us there. We need coupling. Coupling is the holding in of the environment, the creating the dielectric field in order to pull in the zoning. The last one here is our Tesla coil. This is the inside of our Tesla coil here. That right there is 10 times stronger than it would be on the outside. For those of you who don't understand electricity properly, let me explain. There are fundamental things that are in it that they do not put in the equations. You're always dealing with radiation. You're always dealing with entropy. Every single time. Two of the most important components, they don't put them in there. Why? Because they're 0.0001 of it. So they use it as a rounding error and they get rid of it. What's the problem with that? It keeps showing up. Compress high voltage electricity in any environment, you get radiation. Was it always there or was it emergent? The fact is it was always there. If we want to play in a gaseous environment, we must use entropy to do it. That's where you're getting your energy from. You're coupling with the dielectric field in the gas itself. What combines the gas you're using? You're using as your energy source in the Graviflyer. That's why it's this has to be in all of your energy. Fundamentally. It cannot be stripped out. You cannot use it as a rounding error. If it shows up, it must show up at all times. It must be accounted for. Your accounting sucks right now because you don't have it. You're creating these fields. Boom, boom, boom. Understand this. This is the flow of this direction. This is the flow of this direction. It's the flow of this direction. I am making fundamentally an atom work inside of this. What's more important than this? You see, we're going to get to a simple understanding here of how this outside field works. In each one of these, right there, this is your learning. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is an atom. You know the funny thing that builds out from this? I'll just say this as a side note. Once this sheath layer builds out, if it has no impedance to it, no solid matter build out to it, if this zone is too close to this zone, there's your ball lightning right here. That's also a satellite in high voltage physics. When you get to plasma, this right here will build out as a satellite. But it's the same thing as ball lightning. What's the difference? Time. It takes time for voltage to solidify into matter. That's what it is. But in doing this, You are directly dealing with time dilation. Because they rotate in different directions, it's time dilation. It's why every single one of your UFO crafts has it. On the outside, because it's taking the molecules on the outside, it is creating a shining layer on the outside. We can see it as breaking water. You're building it and breaking it, building it and breaking it continuously. Why? Because you ionize water and you can split it into hydrogen and oxygen. It's that simple. It doesn't need to go to quantum levels to understand this. It is a simple understanding of physics. If you know the parts, you can build the item. That's why we do the experiments to figure this out. We did Project RAV to figure this out. Molecules in the environment. So let's go back to that, okay? Got started, got sidetracked, okay? Every single one of them has a dielectric field in between them. We must now structure a field here in our Graviflyer in order to take advantage of this effect. This field right here is what we want to pull into the outer layer here. It is directly going to cause the spin here, and it's going to give it its energy. Because we're dealing in high voltage and ionization, it will now split this. These will go off. The energy that was here now goes here. Are you starting to see it? We are now pulling in the environment. You can see it like this if you want. It's a little ball and the environment comes in a direction and it causes a rotational spin in it. You can see it that way if it helps you. But that's what it's doing. You see, we're coupling energy, which basically means we're zoning it. 1 zone, 2 zone, 3 zone, 4 zone. Are we understanding? Coupling energy is much stronger because it takes the environmental energy and uses it to your advantage. You don't need joules of energy. See, a lot of this misunderstanding comes that it thinks you need to take the energy of the earth itself and reverse it. Well, that's asinine. There's no way you can do it. 1,000,000 amps. You're going to fry before you even get close to it. 1,000,000 volts. You're going to fry before you get close to it. There's no way you can use it in the system in order to create anti-gravity. What does work? Take a local environment, build it, and make it stronger than the gravitational force around it. That's a gravity well. It doesn't mean that you have propulsion from it. Propulsion comes from a beat rate and a piezoelectricity disc that goes on in your craft. You see, when you have 2 Tesla coils across from each other and they're at slightly different frequencies, they start creating a binaural beat that goes on. That beat frequency itself is put into any certain form, becomes the propulsion. So how do we know this? Go look at a bubble in the environment. Just go out with your kids and blow a bubble. It's a beautiful way to look at it. One side's blue, one side's red. They show up on the outside of the bubble. You get the spherical bubble, you get both colors, right? They flash in between each other. They create a binaural beat. What do? They create zones. So in this one, you get a spherical zone that builds out like this. In this one, you get a spherical zone that goes out like this. They come together. As they rotate, you now have propulsion. They rotate, you now have propulsion. It's the cone. The cone underneath here, these come together, and as they collide, and I can't get my hands to go right like this, they create this, which is this effect. This effect's in the center. These two zones are on the outside. It creates the cone. That's the propulsion aspect. That's why the piezo is used. It is the binaural beat of the system. They tried to tell us this in the Viamana and we weren't listening. When you have two shafts at the same size, they create a resonance between them. Two shafts at a different size, they create a resonance between them. Between all four, they create a beat frequency. That beat frequency is your propulsion. They directly use it in tubes as their propulsion. They have magnetics in there, which is basically creating their sheath layers and understanding of the zoning on the outside. You must couple with the environment. You see, you don't have to put a ton of energy in. It's the opposite of the way you think about it. You think brute force. We've done everything with brute force. That is a complete misunderstanding of what we're doing here. We're coupling energy and fields themselves. The energy becomes in the distance between each field. As it compresses, it removes resistance. As it removes resistance, it creates laminar flow. It flows without impedance. As it flows without impedance, you create superconductivity. Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. You didn't need to put the extra energy in. You needed to create the environmental condition for it to work. You needed coupling. Coupling goes to superconductivity. Brute force is a waste of energy. Now we should start understanding our Graviflyer different. I understand it on a different level because I actually seen the atomic structure with my own eyes. I understood exactly how it was built out. And I can tell you exactly what gravity is. It's an electromagnet in the center. Not a magnet, an electromagnet. There's a fundamental difference. A magnet is a simple state of energy put into an item. That's it. It is a frequency of voltage and amperage set in an environmental condition that only changes based on time and decay. But an electromagnet is a living structure. It allows it to breathe. It allows it to move. It does everything that you want it to do. There's a theory of everything in here, and I understand that. I've been writing it for a while. The fundamental understanding started with the Graviflyer. The fields are there, I've already shown that. The beat frequencies there, I've shown that as well. I've shown the energy. Guys, the coupling works, we saw it in the RAV. I saw it in the fields when we put the light around it, the differences. How they couple together when you take the Tesla coil and you take the high voltage and they make more energy together. They combine. They're not canceling each other out. Why? Because they're in different directions. They're not canceling each other out. You put direction like this and another field of direction like this around it, boom. That energy disperses outward. It does not create zoning. You must create the different rotations. How do you do that? It's the frequency changes itself. So if you said, I have 90 kilohertz, 95 kilohertz, 100 kilohertz, there's zoning in different directions. It's not what people don't see as apparent to them is right in front of them. Is zoning in different directions. That's what causes the coupling. Because they can't combine. They're in different directions. What do they say? 3 rings? It's actually 4. But you could see it in 3 rings if you'd like to. It's the rotation of each ring that gets you there. The fundamental understanding of an atom is how this works. You're creating an environmental condition and a localized field to create a gravity well. Then you're using the understanding of each one on the pulse of each side to create the vector direction. That piezo itself creates the vector direction based on the beat frequency in it, creating that downward direction. Now you can start to understand the Graviflyer properly. Guys, we're going to start a lot of testing here on this channel. And basically what we have is we're going to have a bunch of sensors come around. We have it going to a computer program. It'll basically take in all the data, and then it's going to give you a 3D rendering of what's going on. We're going to fundamentally change the way you see this. We're going to do the same thing with our Project Rav. It's going to show the coupling itself. I'm going to be at Tesla Tech this year, and I'm going to give a presentation on coupling, the dielectric field, and exactly what it is, how it's non-static in nature. We are going to go to the next level. Guys, I understand gravity, I understand the atom, and I understand the Graviflyer. It took a long time to get here, but I learned my lessons well. Some of the physics is right, some of the physics is wrong. Some of it's based on how it looks at the end and not how it's built. But once we add in how it's built, you'll see how it is. Time and gravity are emergent in our environment. We can create them. We can build them out of what actually looks like nothing. Therefore, they're emergent to everything. They're not a fundamental force. They are a force created by all the environmental conditions of energy itself. Energy itself, light can turn into plasma, which can turn into matter. We've already seen that through Project Rav. Guys, the Graviflyer understanding is going to change. What you thought was a simple piece of junk, where some people keep telling you there's strings attached to it. I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a single string in this environment, and that thing will lift right off the ground. We are going to finish this project by the end of the year. Thank you very much, and have yourself a great day.
The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.